Okay. Hey, hello, everyone. It is Suzanne Worthley back with another episode of Energy Unleashed. I'm here with my co-host, Kim Hess, and we're both up at the cabin.
Yes, we're so blessed.
Your background looks awesome. You're looking at the lake, and mine looks like typical cat. It was so cute. Last night, I was doing an interview for my new book, and the gentleman was from San Francisco, and I was in this spot because it's kind of chilly, and I was inside, and he's like, geez, it almost looks like you're way up north in some really cool woods. And I go, I am.
I am. Look at surprise.
Yeah.
Right before we started, was an osprey went down right behind my head and grabbed a fish. And I'm like, what was that?
Yeah. And the eagles have been crazy. For those of you that might not know, Kim and I are actually both on the same lake, pretty close neighbors. And we both have cabins up here together. And it's a delight to be able to work in a place like this. And I'm up here mostly right now to dive into my third book, and Kim is down the way, so we can kind of connect and hook up for these things. So it's really quite a pleasure to be able to have such an amazing healing spot up here for doing energy work. And oftentimes we will, kind of like go out in the middle of the night and try to see the spaceships or the stars or whatever. So we're going to do that this week because it's supposed to be a big week. I guess Venus is going crazy in the skies right now. So
it is. And then we might have a small chance of seeing Northern Lights.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I hope that happens.
So one of the pleasures of being in Minnesota. Well, welcome everyone. If you're not familiar with our podcast, this is usually I talk about client at sessions that I do as an energy practitioner. I ask them if I can share some of their information so that we can all learn from one another. Typically, it's anonymous, and take what resonates for all of these, toss the rest. I bring the client session forward, and then Kim and I will unleash it or break it down or dive deeper into the subject. And this is not going to be an easy subject because this is a client that just recently found out that he is struggling with cancer. He is not my only client that is having a cancer journey. In fact, I've had many over the years of being a practitioner, and cancer is not a fun thing. We all know that. And I wanted to bring this forward because I am so incredibly impressed with this particular client in the way that he is choosing to do his journey. And again, this is all choice. We're not saying what is right and what is wrong here, but I would like to bring forward this concept of when I work with my clients, I really encourage them in any sickness, but especially cancer, to be very, very careful in the fuel that they're actually working with, meaning that consciousness connection to the situation. And if we're working, especially when it comes to cancer, in a fear fuel, it really, really does not behoove the end result. And it really makes the journey much tougher. And this particular client is doing an amazing job at looking at this as more of a soul lesson, a soul journey, a soul alignment for a bigger purpose, which I think is fascinating and fabulous. Some of the things that I work with when I'm working with clients is to really take into consideration the things that you quote unquote have to do, meaning things like chemotherapy or radiation. And if that is your choice, which of course it's always a choice, maybe consider working in a different frequency. So this particular client reaches out when he's going into chemo, and I toss him some supportive energy. You don't have to have an energy practitioner do that. You can do that with your family or your friends or your loved ones, right? So share your journey with others so that they can support it in a loving way and work towards changing the frequency of those chemicals, because these are needed and yet they're very toxic. And so it's kind of like a win-win, lose-lose, win-lose. I mean, that's a tough thing, right? Yeah. And so I'm just going to toss it open right off the bat here, Kim, because he's got so many cool things going on. And I don't know how many people you are even friends with or aligned to that have a cancer journey. I guess we've never really talked about that.
Yeah, I would say in the last 2 months, there are 4 people that are fairly close in my life that are dealing with cancer right now.
That is brand new.
Brand new. And well, one is a recurring.
Okay.
There's a couple people too that have other things that were going on, but they've had cancer. Right. So this complicates what they're going through. So it's just I just sat back the other day and I'm like, what is happening? Because it seems more right now. And maybe it's our age, but I also think that it's other things.
Yeah.
There's influences that are definitely escalating. I think if you have a tendency to cancer, that it seems like things, because of fear in day-to-day life and the chaos and different things that are happening, I think those things are contributing actually to triggering
Yep.
cancer in people. They're
And in a very careful and nondescript way, I'm just going to say our immune systems have been compromised in a lot of different ways. And that is all up to each individual's belief system. I'm not standing on a soapbox for something or not something in that regard. I'm simply saying the human actual immune system has been compromised in so many ways, but the most compromised for that immune system has been fear.
Yeah.
We have been hammered in our ability to hold our health for the last couple of years. And it is so detrimental to have a fuel running through us that is constantly scared. And this can break down the body faster than any other thing. And so
talk about that a little more, because when you say frequency, not everybody understands. I think we've touched on in other episodes, but can you go into that more? Because when you talk about fear and where it sits in your body, it's a huge impact, and it would be great to understand that more.
And so let's think of it this way. We are a divine vehicle of source energy, and we have gasoline, which would be our chi or our prana. It comes in through our system via our chakras, meaning our energy centers. And that fuel, when it is aligned in love, is moving at a really high frequency, a high rate, a high vibration of love. And it's working and it's fueling us and everything feels good. And it's like a great car with great gas. But if we have sludge going through our system, it's like putting tar into our gas tank and we're wondering why our parts are slowing down. So our frequency drops, our vibration drops, it gets dense and heavy. And our actual body, let's go back to the car. If we're putting crap in the car, the parts aren't moving well and they sludge out and they start to stop and then eventually stop working. That's how the body itself stops working. So remember, every single solitary human body carries cancer within us because there's a potentiality of anything and everything within every body. Whether we are aligning to that cancer or not is a multitude of reasons, right? And it's important for us to understand everybody has that potential, and it doesn't mean it has to happen. So really work the things, in my opinion, like that law of attraction. Do not fall for those things that people do. So many of my clients, oh my God, we all have heart attacks. Oh my God, we all have diabetes. Oh my God, we all have blah, blah, blah. So that is a preconditioned belief system that I'm going to get that. And I do have a very close client that is terrified because both his parents had cancer. So he believes oftentimes that he's going to get cancer. And the narrative in and of itself there is that sludge. It allows the body to follow that instruction set. So we want to be very careful on how we're programming the actual body, regardless of our DNA or our heritage or our background. It's really important to know that I'm an individual human being that doesn't necessarily have to even follow a biological DNA bloodline of cancer.
Yeah, and it's so interesting how the medical system reinforces that so much with what did your father have? What did your mother have? What did your grandparents have? What did you have? It's like, and you look at it across that piece of paper, you're like, oh my God.
Yep, I'm screwed. I'm
so screwed. I have everything. What don't I have?
Yeah, and it's really interesting because it is a program. We will see that and then we will create that. And remember, law of attraction, what we really, really want, we get. What we really, really don't want, we get. It's very hard for people to understand that. Right. That's why we reiterate that often in these. And it's really where you're putting your focus. Now, does that mean that if I come up with cancer that I created it and I did something wrong and I did something bad? Absolutely not. But cancer can come for a million different reasons. And so it's how we approach the cancer journey that we're talking about. So with this particular gentleman, it's so amazing because he's really taking this as a soul journey, which I think is a beautiful concept. Mm-hmm. Our soul, our higher self, aligns to so many lessons. And whether you want to take this information or not, that's up to you. You can toss this out if it doesn't resonate. But my belief system in the work that I do is that we sign up for all kinds of journey lessons. And some of those include things like sickness. And some of those include sickness that end in a death. And that is part of the reason that I came in for that experience. Now, that's not an easy thing to say to somebody in a client session, but I literally had a woman the other day who has stage 4 cancer, and she understood that concept. She said, this is new to me, but every ounce of my being is understanding what you're saying, because I can feel that this is part of a journey. I can feel that this is something my soul is supposed to be experiencing and learning. So again, take it if it resonates, toss it if it doesn't. But if you can align to that kind of an idea, it takes that fear factor, but more so the victimization factor away. What we want to do in the case of cancer is have some semblance of control, because we don't have control when something is invading our body. We feel victimized. And so empowerment is really important in this kind of a journey. Does that make sense?
Oh, it totally does, because I think that in one case, this lovely lady went through major cancer. She went through surgery, she had to have chemotherapy, all the things, but her attitude through this, while she would get a little grumpy, was totally, I'm kicking ass. This is happening, and she's doing really good. So her attitude and how she at first she was just angry. And I think it's similar to, the death process. You go through the phases of, this can't be happening to me. Why me? And then you're ticked off that, why is this happening to me? I don't get it. And then you eventually have to come to that acceptance of it. And how are you going to go after it?
Right. Surrender. Those 5 stages of death are very pertinent for this. You made a great point. Kubler-Ross's 5 stages of death. They're also in my book for the Energy Healers Book of Dying. Those 5 stages of death are very, very much what the cancer journey will go through. Bargaining, I'll make a deal with you, and then anger, and then frustration, and then disbelief, et cetera, not in that order. But it's very common to go through all of those stages. But yes, when we get to that one of looking at it from a higher perspective. Now, a lot of people don't like that idea. I didn't come in here to suffer. Well, quite possibly you did, because from a higher perspective, source energy, God energy, your soul energy doesn't see pain and suffering as a bad thing. It might be a karmic return on something. It might be another lifetime where I'm finishing a lesson. It might be the other side of a lesson that I didn't learn before, and so on and so on. So when we get to a place with a cancer journey where it is what it is, it just is what it is. I'm not the victim here. I am in command of how I do this journey. Then we can start to do some of the things that this client that I was referring to at the beginning is doing. He's literally given his cancer a name so that it is part of him, but it isn't part of him. He talks about his cancer in the third person, which I think is very interesting, and befriended it and talks to it kindly, like we would our inner child. And this particular client also is learning to work with his chemo and his radiation with a different frequency again, saying, I know this is a toxic burning substance going in me, but I'm seeing it as beautiful golden light or green healing light. And I can see it emanating through this tube instead of I'm sitting here for 5 hours with toxins going into my blood. This is a whole different perspective and a way to do this kind of journey. And for him, it is absolutely working. And it's been incredible to watch his joy factor. Now, does that mean he's happy camper every day because he has cancer? Absolutely not.
No,
That's not
I
what
would
I'm
think
saying.
it's a major emotional roller coaster,
Right.
But to write it, it's hard. I think you wake up days and I'm sure you're just ticked off, or you feel so bad going through treatments that you can hardly crawl out of bed. So how do you, conquer that and change it in that positive frequency way?
And I have another client who had cancer many years ago and went through all the radiation and would come to me, for many, many, many months, almost half of a year or more, with no hair at all, and was so angry, about all of that. And we worked diligently together to remind her to stay out of the anger. And, now it's been years and years and she's been cancer free, and she has her beautiful head of hair, and it's all been wonderful. And it seems like this other life from the past, so there are many clients that I've had that gone through this fully and 100% have recouped. Now, on the other hand, The ones that have fought their cancer, meaning this is a really important part. I encourage my people that I work with to embrace the journey in terms of that this is a soul lesson, that this is contracted, etc. If that doesn't work for you, great. But at least if that doesn't work for you, do your best to stay out of the fighting cancer, because when we fight, our body reacts in a like finds like way. Meaning, if I'm going to fight this and fight this and fight this, the reaction of the body is I'm going to fight back because you're giving me fight, so I'm going to align fight. If I give it surrender, it's going to align surrender. So if I'm going to fight my cancer, fight my cancer, fight my cancer, we're going to beat this. We're going to beat this out of me. We're going to kill this. We're going to, this stuff that's coming in my body's killing that cancer. Well, the cancer gets the attention to say, yeah, but I'm still here. I'm still here. So it exponentially comes more. It grows faster.
Is that because of the chemistry in your body? Like it's more aggressive, so your adrenaline is different, or your
it's the frequency of like finding like. It's the frequency and the vibration again of that law of the universe of attraction. If I'm giving it something, it's going to align more with that. So if I'm fighting, it's going to fight back.
Okay.
Right? Okay. So if I'm going to beat the crap out of this, if I'm going to pound this out of me, which I have had other clients do. Now, some of these clients have felt like, oh, I beat this. I beat cancer. And then 2 years later, they're dead because it comes back. Right. Because you don't beat cancer. You surrender to the journey. And so it will always come back harder and stronger, even though you think that you're in a remission, if you're fighting. Because the fight and the fear is the fuel. And I'm going to say that again. The fight and the fear is the fuel or the food that then is feeding it inside to come back stronger and make its appearance again. So my words that I give, not that I'm saying I'm right, but my words that I offer are transmutation. Watch it transmute. Watch your cancer turn into love. Watch your cancer absolutely just dissipate into a higher frequency. Allow the cancer to be there, because when we want it out, I'm going to get it out. I'm going to cut it out. I want it out of me. Then it's like, oh, but wait, I'm a part of you, so I'm going to come back stronger, right?
Oh my gosh. So, I have not ever looked at it that way before. That I get the frequency of love, but to surrender to it like that, you don't hear that very often with most people that I know.
It confuses the client at first until that aha moment comes on. So remember, if we all are walking around the potentiality of cancer right now, transmute it even right now. I'm fine. I have it. It's part of me, but I don't have to activate it. I have it. It's part of me, but I don't have to give it fuel and fear attention to feed it to make it come to the surface. So these are different ways to look at it. Remember, when we have a body part, especially when we're in a healing situation, if I even have, a lung removed or a kidney removed, right? That body etherically, energetically still is like, where's my kidney? Where's my lung? Right. And so oftentimes I put that lung or kidney back in or regenerate it energetically within that client so that it feels complete. Right.
So you don't feel like you're missing a piece of you and all of that.
Same thing with cancer. Let it be there, but transmute it to a different frequency so that it's not harmful. It's just dissipating.
Right.
Yeah.
That's so, because I think about people even with heart surgery and that kind of thing, that when they go through a major surgery like that, they come out of it feeling like they're missing a piece of themselves or their body is different.
Yes.
Especially like a transplant or something is just like to change that frequency of the organ and how your body is accepting it is so important. I didn't think of it that way.
Yeah. And this goes on and on and on for many, many different kinds of sicknesses and diseases and body parts, etc. So the transmutation to feel like you're supporting it is really the key, in my opinion. And you can go as big or not as you choose to on why this is coming forward. This particular client is really investigating why this particular cancer came into his life at this particular time and what this has to do with his evolution of his soul and his path. This is something that is another area that is interesting to me to investigate, because each of our chakras holds a different consciousness frequency, meaning a different lesson. So if I have cancer in this area, it's about me holding my truth and being able to communicate and show up and be heard.
Mhm.
If it's in my heart, it's about conditionalized love, feeling like I'm loved only if I, when I, because I, or I'm not because I, and on and on. So when we take the chakra information, the consciousness behind it, and we break down, oh, this is why that body part area diseased with a dash in there, diseased into, take the dash out, disease. So if I went from dis-ease in that chakra area to full-blown disease, it's because the anchor, again, of that fuel is full of sludge, like we said. It's not working. The gasoline is crappy. And so I can change my fuel. This is something that I am able to do. Does that mean that I don't maybe have a fatal situation with cancer? Maybe the fatal situation with cancer was the lesson, right? And I learned that years ago. I have a huge story in my first book, The Energy Healer's Book of Dying, with a friend of mine who I thought, you know, his healing was going to mean getting better. And actually his healing meant leaving planet, right? So when we start to look at these situations from a really soul perspective, we can really open our minds and our hearts to a different kind of a journey.
So I get it from the person that has the cancer. That makes so much sense to me. And it's got to be more peaceful going through that process and doing that. But what about the people supporting the people with cancer? Like, it's so hard to know what to say or what to do, or you can't fix it for them. I know that, but what are the supporting elements to?
That's a really great angle to round down on. I think it's important to understand when we pity someone. I was talking about this in the interview for the Empath book last night. The Confident Empath book talks about empathy versus sympathy and pity. Empathy means I'm going to hold the space for you. I'm going to stand in your shoes. I'm going to really feel what you feel. I can feel your pain when you have cancer, but I don't want to take your pain. I don't want to take your pain, and I don't want to feel that in my body, because that would be a detriment to myself. But I also don't necessarily want to pity you, because when I pity you, I feel sympathy or sad that this is happening for you. This is an actual conditional judgment on the concept of what your higher self aligned. And I have no business doing that. Now, this is not something people like to hear, but I'm going to say it again. When I pity you, or I feel sorry that you have cancer, I'm actually stepping on your contractual agreement with your higher self, because maybe you came here for this journey and I have no right to put my spin on that, my egoic perspective on that. Do you see?
Yeah, it's hard. It's so hard not to make it about you and your own emotions when working with someone or being with someone that has, cancer or an illness. So that's so hard.
And the reason why, I'm going to take this farther. The reason why you have pity and sadness and feel bad is because you, not them, you feel out of control.
Yeah.
You are the one that feels uncomfortable. Yeah. You're the one that feels uncomfortable because they're sick. And it's not yours to feel uncomfortable about.
No, it's not.
So get your own stuff together. And what we call that is honoring their journey. What we call that is neutral space. What we call that is holding space. I can listen to you. I can be there for you. I can support you. I can drive you to your appointments. I can do all of these different things, but I don't get to change you or change your outcome or your journeys just so that I feel more comfortable. This is the honor of being with someone in a situation that is really, really difficult. And it is possible. It's not easy, but it is possible when we get to that concept. And this is why I often use the word honor, because if I honor your contract, I get out of your way. But I'll be there for love and support, but I don't want to change you.
Yeah, I can still bring you soup and,
yes,
sit with you for a while. But it doesn't mean I take that on.
Right.
That I'm just there as support and holding space for you in a love and light way.
And oftentimes people that are doing cancer, especially that are, when I was doing the Empath book, I actually have a statistic in there that oncologists die of cancer more often than you can even imagine, because they're empathing. They're taking on that cancer pain all day long as a practitioner. And if
Right.
they are not being a skilled practitioner in that regard, they're actually energetically taking on so much cancer that oftentimes they actually die from it.
Mhm.
So these are things that we also have affect us as caregivers. And so it's important for us to find that common ground of neutrality again.
Right. And it goes back to understanding and setting your boundaries
Yes.
in your energy,
Yes.
so that you're not taking in, that frequency, which changes what you're doing inside of your body. So,
And this client again that I'm referring to mostly in this actual episode, he's adorable in that he sits in his chemo room and he envisions his bubble, because even in the chemo room he wants to be aware that I'm in my own individual bubble of love, light, and frequency. I'm not, even intruding on that patient who's doing their radiation or chemo or whatever. I'm in my own bubble. And so it's important for us to be aware of our boundary, even in any case, especially when we're in a hospital or a clinic situation. We want to keep our as much fuel as we possibly can. And when we are in a cancer journey, we want as much fuel as we can anyway to help ourselves heal. So the boundary, the bubble, the grounding, all of those things we talk about, using light frequency colors, using things that are oils, using all of this homeopathic stuff in conjunction with Western medicine is usually the best win-win.
that's you have on your website actual information about grounding that people can go
Yep.
to
Yep.
on
Yep. There is
bestsellerly.com. Yeah.
yeah. On the front homepage, there's a ground and bubble technique. And then I also have a couple YouTube videos from back when that talk about death and dying too, because a lot of times we will have our cancer journey end in death. And these are important things to honor as well. Like I learned very quickly, like I said, from my friend, that sometimes the death is exactly what the journey, that was the healing,
That was the
so
feeling.
those are hard. That's hard.
It
And
is
then
hard.
remission, I just want to end on remission. Remission is really tough because, the human, it's so typical of the human to be scared, right? I mean, we're okay, I got through this. I beat it. Again, that's a tough word for me as a practitioner. When I hear somebody say I beat cancer, I'm like,
Yeah.
So if I do get to the point of remission, this is the most critical time when someone wants to stay out of that fear of, oh my goodness, it might come back, because this is that law of attraction. When I am constantly thinking, well, what if it comes back? What if it comes back? What if it comes back? Those are just little shout outs to the universe to maybe bring that forward again. So gratitude, gratitude, gratitude. I am living my life. I am living my life according to my highest good. My higher self knows when I leave this planet and how and when. And this is how I believe most people should live, cancer or not cancer. My higher self knows when I'm leaving this planet. I don't have to obsess about it all day long, right?
No, the worry
So
is it's so, like, you talk about fear, worry
yeah,
is part of that. And there are people in my life that it's so interesting to watch their body and how worry is such a big part of their life, and it's
yeah.
so unhealthy. Yeah, physically it's very unhealthy.
And when we worry about someone else besides, we're just as bad. We're not supporting their journey in any way, shape, or
Mm,
form when we're tossing worry at them all day long.
right.
So if you are that co-caregiver, if your loved one has it, the more you worry, that is not helping them. The more that
No.
you see them in the light of what their highest self is aligning for their highest knowledge and good,
Mhm.
that's the best gift we can give someone.
So interesting to watch. I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is a hard subject. It's not fun,
No,
right?
because there's so much emotion involved in it, and based on the beliefs that and how we were brought up and how our family and friends have handled these situations, we thought it needed to be a certain way,
Mhm.
and it's interesting to take that step back and start to change the perspective of what it is, just to begin with. And like you said, you, there's so much gratitude, and to have that kind of peace when there's a surrender in that, even from
Yes.
a supportive person, it makes a big difference. It makes a
And
world of
and
difference.
oftentimes the lesson, Kim, is about trusting the human vehicle. These bodies that we walk around in are amazing healing, miracles. Every second of the day we're changing, and every second of the day we are, transmuting, evolving, etc. And we forget that. I mean, think of it. You cut your finger and by the end of the day, it's already healing. I mean, that's ridiculous, right? And we forget that. And that's why there are what we would quote unquote miracle healings out there. Now, does every cancer that the person is on top of this turn into a miracle healing? No, because maybe the miracle healing is dying, like I learned. But I think when we are in a cancer, especially a cancer journey, or in any sickness, God forbid, especially a terminal one, it is about understanding that the body, the vehicle, this human design element is to be trusted, is to be in awe of, is to be partnered with. We are separate than our bodies most of the time. And especially with Western medicine, we are spliced. I mean, think of doctors. I have a head doctor, I have a throat doctor, I have a knee doctor, I have an eye doctor. I mean, we are not complete when we even work through Western medicine. So these situations of really big, medical journeys give us the opportunity to work with this vehicle as an overall creational vehicle or body or container that works in oneness. And so again, when we're sitting in chemo or radiation, see all of your organs excited, see all of your cells excited, see all of that beautiful color running through you versus poison churning into you that's going to kill something else that's poison. I mean, it's a whole different deal. So this is important for us to trust that the body is on board as one big unified force, right? And so a lot of terminal illnesses, in my opinion, are about, do you trust your vehicle?
Yeah. And that's something I work on every day.
Oh my gosh.
Illness or no illness, I work on it every day because, I, for so many years, I was not connected to my body very well.
Yep.
To even begin to trust it. So yeah, it can be a long road in coming.
Oh my God, are you kidding? It's totally wrong. Every day, all day, every day. I mean, it's to the extent of like when I'm sitting up here writing for 4 and 5 hours and I get up out of my chair and go, oh my God, I can't even move. Do I trust my bones right now? And to trust, oh, my legs do know how to walk. These are really small, tiny things, but think of it now, blown fully into something like a cancer journey. It's about trust. It's about, gratitude. It's about all of it. So these are difficult subjects. I get it. And it's something that, you don't obviously have to even listen to if this doesn't resonate for you. You might just take a completely different tact. But what I know from my clients who have actually fought it this way versus fought it this way versus embraced it this way, the outcomes have been completely different.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I had no idea. I mean, I think that a lot of books and movies and shows, it's like you need to be aggressive with it and tell it it's not welcome and go down that path of I'm kicking its ass.
Yeah,
there's a part of
that.
And
the minute you say that, boy, it just comes back like boom,
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting, really interesting. So
interesting.
Yeah.
What a good, I mean, it's a really great topic to put out there because it's such a hard situation for the person who's going through it and the people who are supporting that person. I think
and I really believe you're right. More and more humans will be leaving this planet in immune system situations because our bodies, whether we chose this or that in terms of what's happened over the last couple of years, is not the point. The point is the fear. The fear of it. The fear is what has broken down the immune systems. The fear of everything. It has been the lethal dose to our bodies in the last couple of years. So do your best to step back into a neutral zone if you choose to, and really look at how did I navigate the last couple of years and how am I still navigating it in terms of feeling scared on this planet. And remember, the negative agendas out there will always be throwing out a new op that's going to keep us scared and disconnected from our body because our bodies are the power, right?
It doesn't stop.
Nope. And it's only going to get more. So this is, this whole conversation doesn't even need to be about cancer as much as it needs to be about fear. But, this particular client, like I said, is just rocking it. And it's just such a it's such a blessing to watch somebody have these aha moments during these journeys. And, I'm encouraging him also to journal and write that stuff down. And this particular person has the ability in his home to be outside a lot in nature and is still doing amazing things in terms of his health and wellness and getting outside and working with the trees and working with the rocks. And all of that is additional fuel in terms of love and support. It doesn't always have to just be a human. I mean, you can go out and cuddle a tree just as much to get support for your journey as you can having,
Oh
your
my
mom or
gosh, the
your
energy that
husband.
comes from the land and the trees and the animals. I mean, even your animals will
Yep.
empath, what you're
Yep.
going through, which is hard. But I was going to say too that finding the right prayer, daily prayer, finding the right words, repeating the words, that can have a huge impact on the positive, part of this, surrendering and
That's great.
going through that journey. So journaling is that's a great idea.
And
For
burning, burning
Yep.
ceremonies and letting it go, letting it go. So it's basically the same thing that we're doing for any fear or any learned belief that we want to let go of. But when it has to do with this particular subject matter, all of those things are even more important in
Right.
terms.
Right.
So, yeah,
Yeah. Amazing.
cool.
All right. Well,
Well, yeah, that was a doozer,
that's a big one.
right?
Oh my
And good
gosh.
luck and prayers to anybody that is struggling with this, my client included. Reach out to people and let them know that, hey, I'm sitting in here doing this today. Toss me a prayer. Like you said, toss me some
Yeah.
space, and don't be afraid to reach out to people because, and be aware. I don't want pity. I just want support. I just want space. And so that's a big deal. So
Yeah, it's a big deal. And yeah, the support system is really important and it's hard to know how to be that, so
yeah,
be open and
stay neutral.
graceful and stay neutral just with grace and integrity. I think
Yeah.
you figure it out. So
Cool.
yeah.
Awesome. Well, to everyone out there with a journey or holding some space for a journey, we are there with you. And until next time, please hit like or subscribe or share this video. We are here for you in terms of energy. My clients are always willing to share, which I value that and honor that so much. And I feel blessed to be able to work with people on a daily basis that are growing into their
Yeah.
space. And so thank you for being there for us. And we will be here for you next time.
Right. Share your stories and leave comments. And yeah, we appreciate anything that you put out there for us. So thank
Awesome. Well,
you.
until next, see ya and
Bye.
cosmic hugs.